It's just about time for Get Lit. This happens every Tuesday morning where I chat with and spotlight some of the talented authors of Redwood Writers. They're the largest branch of the California Writers Club, peeking behind the pages. I had the distinct pleasure just this weekend of speaking with Jacobsen about her work. And here is our chat. You're listening to The Crush. It's The Crush, 95.9 and 95.5. I'm here with Jacobsen, author of Women of Color and Accomplishment, Doing the Right Thing series. Welcome, Carol.
Hello, Mindy. I'm so happy to be on your show.
It's wonderful to have you here. Can you tell us about yourself and what this book series is all about?
Yes, I've been in the Bay Area since 1979, and I started as a tech consultant and computer programmer and retired after 34 years. And in my retirement, I have been painting, and because of the murder of George Floyd in 2020, I decided to paint portraits of women of color and accomplishment. And that's the name of my book series. And my latest book that's come out is called Women of Color and Accomplishment, Doing the Right Thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. And just a little bit, you must do a lot of research on different people to include in your book. Do you include little bios of people that you paint, or how do you present that?
Oh, I definitely do. And I keep them short because I know I want to keep people's attention, and I know attention span can be kind of short nowadays. And that's why one of the reasons I have these colorful portraits, to try to draw attention to these people, get people interested in learning their stories, and then have the highlights of what I consider inspiring parts of their lives.
It's so incredible. And you mentioned George Floyd and that experience being part of your inspiration. I was curious, too, as a painter, that you chose to put this in a book format, as opposed to, obviously, other routes with painting. What inspired you to make a book of this?
Well, the reason I made a book, my first book, was because when people would come into my studio and I'd talk to them about these portraits and show them, the portraits and all about the history, after about 31 portraits, I started to sometimes get a little forgetful because I'm older. And so I decided to make a book so that when they came in and I couldn't remember all the details, like when someone was born, I could look it up in the book.
That's so brilliant. I love that idea. Listen, where can listeners find your book, and what's the best way for them to learn more about your work?
Well, my books are available on Amazon.com, and not only do I have the 3 books in the series, but I've also produced a coloring book, again, about the women in the series, and a 30-day inspirational journal. And what was the second question?
Where can they go to find out about your work?
Oh, I have a website. In fact, I've got 4 websites. The books are on my print website, which is called mounttampress.com. But the main information is on my website, caroljacobsen.org, and that's spelled with the S-E-N, Jacobsen with the S-E-N. And there I have pages about my talks, about the exhibitions I've had of my paintings, because that's another way I try to get the information out.
Right. I want to say I'm here with author Jacobsen as part of Get Lit on The Crush. You mentioned your talks. I know you do have a whole section on your website. What events or talks do you have coming up that folks can come out for?
Well, it's kind of a busy week for me right now. I have a talk tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at Dominican University. I'm talking in front of the Wednesday morning dialogue group, which is a group of women that have been meeting for 51 years, and right now they have 91 members. And the talk is going to be called Breaking Barriers, and it's about Bay Area women who I've painted in this series. And then the next day, Thursday, I'm giving a class at Marin TV, which is also called Community Media Center of Marin. And that class is about enhancing your online presence, because I've had to learn a lot of new skills for getting my message out, which is from Martin Luther King Jr., where he didn't want his 4 little children to grow up being judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And so I talk about whatever your message is, how to amplify that message using social media and YouTube, websites, email, things like that.
It's wonderful. Carol Jacobsen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Your work is so inspirational. Thanks for being here, and hopefully one day you can drop by and see us. Thanks for being on the show today.
Okay, thank you so much, and I'd love to see you sometime.
Yes.